What is racism? Racism is a discrimination against someone because of their race or ethnicity. Racism is taught and is generational. Here, this infographic is a great example of why racism still exists in this country today. Racism and bigotry is generational, so it takes time. People learn to be whatever their society and culture teaches them, and unless parents actively teach kids not to be racist, they will be. When we feel angry or frustration, we often look for someone else to blame for our problems. As a community, we can do the same thing. People who look or talk differently, too, are an easy target. Israel and Palestine are a place divided by racial tension. Currently, the Palestinians are being oppressed and exterminated from Israel, even though they own half the country. The Israeli government is funded by nations such as our own, making destruction inevitable in this race war.
Here are just some of the many Bible verses that talk about unity in the Bible and show how important it is to love one another. Romans chapter 12, verse 5 states, "So we, though many, are one body in Christ and individually members of one another." Corinthians passage explains the unity of the body does not in fact mean that the less honored members get abused and treated roughly. Rather, all the parts belong to one another, and therefore the weak parts are treated with special care. Racism has been going on for a long time, and even scriptures in the Bible have taught us ways to include one another and how we should not discriminate anyone. On October 13th, 2019, Bishop Mark J. Seitz of the Diocese of El Paso released a pastoral letter called "The Night Will Be No More" at a liturgy. The letter responds to racism, hatred, and white supremacy, both in the brotherhood community and across the nation, particularly as witnessed with the August 3rd, 2019 massacre at a Walmart in El Paso. This left 22 dead and many more injured. This is the link to the letter and a picture of this bishop, once again talking about how racism needs to end. Now, on June 13th, 2020, Black Lives Matter activists gathered in London Trafalgar Square to call for the eradication of racism and white supremacy. In an earlier era, in 1960, activists around the world connected their own struggles to those of African Americans who challenged segregation, disenfranchisement, poverty, and police brutality, just as their successors do today. This is just one example of a current response to racism, and the Black Lives Matter movement is very well known around our society.
We present this list for all who would like to gain a deeper understanding of historical and present-day racism in the United States. This list of guides and resources is just a small sample of the abundance of resources available online. Here are some ways to take action, and these are some ways you can stop racism. You can learn to recognize and understand your own privilege. You can examine your own biases and consider where they may have originated. Validate the experiences and feelings of other people of color. Find out how your company or school works to expand opportunities for people of color. Racism can cause a lot of damage to both individuals and communities. This is how it impacts individuals. It has ongoing feelings of sadness, anger, depression, and being left out. It also leaves a constant fear of being verbally or physically attacked. And it also leaves people with having little or no trust in anybody apart from family. And here's here's an example of how it impacts communities. Racism creates a society where people don't trust and respect each other. This just shows how we need to stop all the racism, because it's just affecting everybody and driving everybody further apart.